My brother, welcome to the Real Man Revolution, a movement for high-achieving, successful men who refuse to settle for anything less than the have-it-all marriage and the have-it-all life that results from having that marriage. I'm Bob Gerace, and I help professional men like you who have built a dynamite career and now suffer the consequences of what it took to build it inside of a marriage that is not working, leading to a life of brother and sister misery, or worse, a devastating divorce. And I've helped thousands of men to turn around that failing marriage, turn it around without sacrificing anything inside of their career by helping them to learn how to rebuild trust, how to rebuild connection, love, safety, and comfort inside their marriage for both partners. And so, brother, if you value this free content, then by subscribing to this channel and liking my videos, you can help me to spread the word to other men who, like us, refuse to settle for anything less than happiness in the boardroom or the operating room or the flight deck or wherever you make your money, and every room of the house as well, brother. All right, brothers, let's get started. And the topic of today's presentation is containing domination. And what really prompted this training was I went to my grandson's football game on Saturday, and this is being recorded on the Monday after. And so it was an amazing game. And so my grandson's team won. In the process, my 11-year-old grandson caught a touchdown pass, which was the touchdown pass that won the game. He was also responsible for an interception because they play one platoon football at that age, and he was responsible for an interception. And he was also responsible for a tackle that prevented the answering score to his game-winning touchdown. And so when it was over, we all walked up to him and we were congratulating him and giving him a hug, and we were like, good game, man, that was awesome. And he says, yeah, we dominated. And it's like, as soon as I heard that, I got goosebumps, because that's who we are. As high-achieving, successful, professional men, what we do is we dominate. We dominate the marketplace. We dominate our competition. We dominate the problems and the pitfalls and the roadblocks and the walls that are between us and the success that we desire, that we know is our birthright, if we will only show up and man up enough and grow up enough to be able to dominate and achieve that success. And so the problem is that this is an amazing tool for the boardroom, and it is a lethal marriage-killing tool for the bedroom. And so for the boardroom, look, we go to war in the marketplace to dominate and succeed and win. And it's who we are as high-achieving, successful professional men. It's in our DNA. It's how we show up. It's in our subconscious. And what that means is that we actually do it without knowing it, and it's insidious. And sadly, we do it to everyone around us, and most often our wife. And this is most often put in our face by the infamous quote, "It's not what you said, but it's how you said it." Every man's wife, after 16,000 breakthrough calls, I'm convinced every man's wife has said this to him at some point or another, if he is a successful, high-achieving, professional man. And it's because this is what we bring into the marketplace, and this same trait is what we bring into our marriage. And we don't do it in a bad way. We don't do it to try to hurt her. We don't do it to try to control her. We don't do it to try to dominate her. We do it because it's who we are. And we have done it for so long, and we have done it so completely, and we have built those skills and fine-tuned and sharpened those skills to a razor's edge for a purpose and a reason: to dominate the marketplace so that we can earn the spoils that we bring home and lay at her feet. But the problem is that it becomes who we are, and then it starts messing with our marriage. And I'm reminded of a story that a man told me once. He said that he was not wanting to eat junk food. He wanted to be healthier, and he wanted to be fit. And he was doing this for himself and for his health and to be more attractive to his wife. And I'm like, bravo, brother. That is exactly the mindset that you need. And so he was going to take his wife and their kids through the drive-thru. And his wife said to him, hey, why don't you get some coffee before you go through the drive-thru, and that way you don't have to sit there with nothing while we're eating in the car. And so he thought about it, and he thought about it, and he thought, you know what? One of the problems in his marriage, he's thinking, my marriage is that, here's the problem, it's always about me. She's always telling me it's always about me. Why is it always about you? And so he's driving down the road and he's thinking, look, I don't want this to be about me. I want to make this about my wife and my kids. And so when it comes time to pull into the road where both the coffee was on the right and the fast food restaurant was on the left, he just went to the fast food restaurant and started to get in line at the drive-thru. And his wife said, I thought you were going to get coffee. And he said, well, no, I never really said that. I thought about it and I decided this doesn't need to be all about me. And she said, well, you just made it all about you. And he says, well, wait a minute, I don't understand. How can this be just about me if what I'm doing is in a selfless way, trying to make it about you and the kids? I know you're hungry, so you don't have to wait any longer to eat, and I'm trying to make it about you. And she's like, you're such an asshole, and you're so controlling, and it's always about you. And so he's trying to figure out, his head is spinning out of control. He was like, how could I be trying to do something in service to her, something that was considerate about her, and he's still the one who's in the wrong? And so he calls me up and he's like, dude, can you translate this girl code for me? Because I don't understand. And I said, okay, brother, here's the problem. The girl code of why don't you go get coffee very potentially means, well, you know what? I might like to have my coffee while I'm waiting at the drive-thru at the fast food restaurant. You know what? I might not want to have to stop for coffee after we eat, and so I would rather go get coffee first. You know what? I want you to go get coffee first. Now, here's the thing. Most guys, they don't understand that when they hear it. What they hear is they think that she's giving them a suggestion. But here's the problem. He's making an assumption. And it's in that moment of the assumption that he messed up. Because what he could have said is he could have thought about it for a minute, decided he didn't want to make it all about him, and he could have said, you know what? I can wait for coffee. I know you guys are hungry. And in that moment, he has opened up space. He has given her space in the healthy way. And he has created a partnership. And he has opened the dialogue of communication. And at that point, she can make a decision for herself. Either, well, you know what? Actually, would you mind going and getting the coffee first? Because I think I'd like to have it now that I think about it. Or, okay, cool, whatever makes you happy. And so the problem is even though he was trying to be thoughtful and he was trying to not make it about him, he ended up hurting her because he made her feel, wait for it, like her opinion doesn't matter, like she's not heard, like she's not seen, like she's not loved, like she's controlled, like she's dominated. And it's insidious. It's right below the surface. And unless you're trying to peer below the surface, you're going to miss it. And the problem is this. Peering below the surface, what it actually means is changing your subconscious. Because your conscious mind made a decision that you're going to be thoughtful. And you're going to take her there first. And your conscious mind never got the memo to ask her the question. Now, brothers, I can tell you all day long that you need to ask the question. But until your subconscious mind offers that up to you in the moment, every time, you're going to continue to fail along this path. Here's the other thing, is that as high-achieving, successful professional men, what we're taught is to get the ball across the plane. And how it gets there is much less important than the fact that it gets there, right? Getting that presentation done, it doesn't matter how it gets done as long as it's done in time for the meeting to win the new business. So that's our mindset. That's how we dominate. If there's something that needs to be done in our mind, then we get it done. And so here's two ways that we mess up in our marriage because of this fact. The first one is that the things that we see on our list, we don't take her into consideration nearly enough. We just go ahead and we get it done because we think we're being the man. But what we don't understand is that we have an equal partner in our relationship. Now, a lot of times guys will be like, Bob, well, wait a minute. I thought I was her leader. And dude, you are the leader. But the leader is not the dictator inside of a marriage. The leader is an equal partner who motivates and inspires and leads his wife towards an expanding kingdom that stays fully contained. And he leads in making sure it's contained and staying contained. And he leads in making sure it expands and doing that expansion. But that does not mean that if she wants to get a ball across the line, that she doesn't want any input. And all of a sudden, how the ball gets across the line becomes more important than the fact that the ball gets across the line. And so a lot of guys will respond to that and they'll be like, well, Bob, she's always complaining that I'm not getting the ball across the line. And that's the other part of understanding her and seeing her and hearing her and rebuilding trust and rebuilding connection and knowing her and knowing what's important to her, because there are things that she just expects you to do without you being told. And when you don't do them, then she doesn't feel seen. Now, there's a lot of guys out there and they're going to be like, well, wait a minute, Bob, this isn't fair. You're telling me that I can't make assumptions about whether or not she wants the coffee. I've got to communicate and make sure that that's being communicated. And she's going to turn around and she's going to make assumptions about balls I need to get across the line. And I'm the bad husband when I don't pick up on her ESP assumptions. And brother, I'm going to say you're 100% right on both counts. And here's the reason why. Because she doesn't know how to show up inside a loving, safe, secure, contained relationship where there is truly open communication, dialogue, forgiveness, and acceptance. She doesn't know it any more than you do at this point. And so you can get on your throne and you can sit in judgment and you can say, I'm not going to do it if she doesn't because that's not fair, and you're going to sound 5 years old if you do that. Try it. Go look in the mirror and tell yourself that. Who's going to teach her how to show up in that marriage, brother? Who's going to teach her how to communicate? Who's going to teach her how to have that dialogue and that connection so that everybody's needs are clearly on the table and there's no ESP involved? Brother, in the first example, that man, what he was doing was he was expecting her ESP to tell her that if she decided she actually was looking forward to that coffee, that she needed to tell him before he turned left into that fast food place. And then we turn around and we're like, well, how can you expect me to have ESP? Brother, this has got to stop somewhere. And here's what I'm going to tell you. You have got to go first. You have got to do it first. And here's the problem again. It's got to come from your subconscious, because if you try to do this in your conscious mind, you are going to lose. You're going to fail. So when we go back to it's not what you said, but how you said it, so much of this comes from the resentment that we feel from the double standard. We have this double standard. We have this double standard where we expect her to read our mind, but then we get pissed and resentful when she gets pissed that she can't read our mind. And so how do you help her read your mind? You help her read your mind by showing up with the right heart, by showing up with the right thoughts and feelings and belief, the right look on your face, the right tone in your voice. Dudes, she can hear 7 different tones that you are incapable of hearing. You think it's coming out nice and sweet and loving, and it's coming out angry and condescending and resentful. If you don't do that work on your heart, if you don't fix who you are on the inside, if you don't fix your subconscious, then how you say things to her are going to be interpreted incorrectly. And then when she tries to pull the pieces together to read your mind, then she's going to get it wrong because she's picking up on this stuff that is toxic inside of you. So even when in that example, the man was telling her, I was trying to do something good, the undertones that she's hearing throughout all of that is all you want to do is control and dominate and make it all about you. And when I try to raise my hand and say, what about your wife? What do I get? Anger, resentment, frustration. And you're like, where's the anger, resentment, and frustration? I don't hear it in my voice. And dude, she hears it in your voice. So the impossible game here is that There's no one job description to be a husband. Just like if you're the CEO of a company, there's no one job description. If you are not the chief sales officer and the chief management officer and the chief execution officer, your company is going to fall apart. Now look, you can delegate those titles to other people, but as CEO, you'd better be able to step in and fulfill that role, and you'd better know that job and at least the outcomes of that job better than anyone you hire for it. Then go hire somebody smarter with more experience who has the training and the experience to knock that out of the park. But listen, what happens if that guy up and quits or that woman up and quits? Brother, you need to be able to step into that role and fill that role and succeed in that role and dominate in that role. And so we know this in business. There's no CEO out there who does not have some ability to sell. There is no CEO out there who does not have some ability to lead a team of people. There is no CEO out there who does not have some ability to fulfill service or material or execution or delivery. And there's no CEO out there who is, or at least if there is, it's not a good CEO. Any good CEO is going to be able to step into any of these roles and succeed and dominate. And so, brother, I'm going to ask you, why do you think that your marriage is any different? Because there is definitely the provider side, and that means that you dominate the marketplace, you dominate your profession. It really doesn't matter who you are. I look at these TV shows about surgeons, and they're always competing. Who's the better surgeon? Who has the better outcomes? Who can do the harder, more difficult, rare surgeries? Why? Because they are dominating inside their profession. Whatever they're doing to dominate as an employee of the hospital, or whether or not they're their own business, they are dominating. And so the thing is it's like you're dominating in your profession. Well, then as your husband, a husband is not a dominator. And this is like one of the core problems that we bring into our marriage. We bring the providing dominator into our marriage. And that dominator is going to get it done or move somebody out of the way to get it done. He's going to express dissatisfaction. He's going to express some hunger inside the gaps. And if you missed that, go watch or listen to that, where I talk about surviving the gap. So the thing is like when the husband brings the dominator to the marriage, he's going to end up having a very unhappy wife unless she is totally submissive. But I'm going to tell you that the high value women, the high achieving women, even if what they're achieving is being married to a successful, high achieving professional man, the men I work with, their women are not so docile and submissive that their husband just gets to walk all over them and control them and dominate them, or they would not be listening to my material and my training. These women, they want him to lead, but they don't want to be dominated. They want to be contained. This is a different skill set. And so, in order to be the lover, in order to be the man who can both be the provider and the container, that's what is maximally attractive to her. And when we think in terms of what is maximally attractive to a woman, it is strength and certainty, taking a stand. That is the alpha male. That is what makes them attract to us. But then there is also love and connection. And that is what keeps them bonded and attached to us. And so if you have provider and dominating type tendencies, yes, she wants you to have them. She just doesn't want the dominating tendencies turned towards her. She wants the containment tendencies. And yeah, you can contain in finance and you can contain in other areas, but the one area that we're all missing as men when we become adolescents and we hit the dating market and then we become marriage material and then husbands is how to contain her emotionally, how to stay within safe limits and keep her emotions within safe limits. That's what she needs to stay bonded to us. That's what she needs to stay attached to us. And without that, the provider in the domination becomes less and less attractive, and it's not doing it for her anymore. And again, I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, that's how you find a wife who says, thank you for this beautiful lifestyle you've given me. Now I'm going to take half of everything you have, plus alimony, plus child support, and turn you into an indentured servant. And then I'm going to go raise these kids on my own or with whoever comes next because I don't feel loved. I don't feel safe. I feel controlled. I feel smothered. I feel dominated. And so, brother, if you want to hold on to your wife, you've got to fix this, and the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking because you're going to get blindsided. They put on a happy face. They put everything in place. And it's not until they're ready to make their move do most men even know that there's a problem on the horizon. And so do not wait until she tells you there's a problem, because the problem is much harder to fix at that point. Now, look, dudes, it's not impossible to fix that point. I've helped over 1,000 men fix it well beyond that point. But what I'm telling you is I'm giving you a wake-up call. Now is the time. If you know your marriage is in an unhappy cycle, if she's complaining that you're controlling and dominating and treating her like one of your employees, now is the time to fix it, brother. Because school prepares us to dominate in business, but nothing prepares us to contain for our wife. The definition of containment: keep everything within safe limits and free from becoming harmful. And brother, your dominating, controlling, angry, rageful personality is the opposite of containment. It is out of containment. It is uncontained. Women do not like things that are uncontained. They live for safety and security. It is what is most important. It is more important than love. Yes, love is right up there with it. A close 1.5, not even a 2, but safety and security. And so domination is the opposite of safety and security. You must learn to contain. Now look, well-meaning coaches coach well-meaning young boys. And we all participate. We learn how to compete. Your wife does not want a competitor. She wants a partner. We learn how to dominate. Your wife does not want to be dominated and controlled. She wants to be contained. Nobody teaches this stuff, and it is a tragedy. It is what leads to her masculine energy expanding and her feminine energy contracting. And that girly girl who was just so into you and so warm and welcoming and compliant and loving and playful, who was just so relaxing and comforting, and who had so much interest in you physically, she becomes harder. She becomes angrier. She becomes more tense. She becomes more argumentative. She becomes more competitive. She becomes more controlling. She becomes more dominating. And she has to do that to survive, because you are not containing her. And so how do you do it, warrior? How do you keep pace professionally and in your marriage and in the fundamental 4 and as a man, and learn an entirely new way of showing up for her without losing any of your business edge and your ability to dominate in the marketplace? Can you be 2 guys at the same time, a marketplace dominator and a true servant leader partner to your wife, and not end up making her feel dominated, but rather than contained? And so the clock is ticking, brother. Fast growth is the only answer. You have no idea what is going on inside her head and her heart, because she doesn't feel safe and vulnerable to communicate, because either your domination and your rage has been the result of her attempting to do so, or because she doesn't feel like it's productive because she's been beating on you and you haven't been changing. Well, brother, let me tell you why she's been beating on you and you haven't been changing. Because you've been trying to change your conscious mind. You've been reading the books. You've been reading the 5 love languages. You've been hitting the blogs. You've been reading the websites. You've been watching the videos on YouTube. And what they're telling you is how to do things differently. What to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do. Brother, that is not the answer. The answer is you have got to fundamentally transform who you are inside. And I'm going to say what that looks like is growth. We are not going to back off 1 millimeter on your strength and your competition, your competitive nature, your ability to dominate the marketplace, your hard driving, get the ball across the goal at any cost, and it doesn't matter who does it in the marketplace. But we're going to stop bringing those skills throughout your subconscious into your marriage, and we're going to actually build on an additional skill set, which is how to switch off that marketplace dominance and switch on that marriage place containment, so that you become as good at containing for your wife and containing your wife, keeping her and her kingdom within safe limits and free from harm, first and foremost from you, brother. You're going to become as skillful at that in that containment as you are in the marketplace dominance. And then what you're going to find is that synergistically, these things make everything better. Because once you learn how to make her feel safe and loved and held and seen and heard and cherished and contained, then you're also going to be able to apply some of those emotional intelligence skills, some of those heart-based skills to better connect with your employees and your customers and your shareholders so that you can have better relationships with them, so that they're willing to go the extra mile for you. And what you're going to find is you're going to better dominate the marketplace, better dominate your competitors, because you're going to have that emotional intelligence edge, that ability to have empathy that is not taught to us as kids on the football field. You're going to have that. You're going to be able to use it. You're going to be able to leverage it. And then you're going to be able to turn around inside your marriage, and you're going to be able to lead with strength. However, you're going to be leading inside of something that she feels safe, and you're going to be able to dominate your kingdom in a way where she never feels controlled or dominated. But what I mean by dominate your kingdom is to actually drive the expansion that she desires for you to create in a way where she follows your lead because she wants to, not because you are dominating or controlling. Does that make sense, brother? And my brother, you do not have time to do this from scratch, the way you learn to dominate and compete from a child in school and on the football field. But rather, to succeed, you must level up very quickly before it's too late, because she is probably already planning her exit and putting on a happy face. I can't tell you how many guys I've worked with. They get the news, she's done, she's filing, she's moving out, she wants him to move out. He looks back through his phone, and 2 and 3 months ago, she seemed so happy. Brother, you don't know her head, you don't know her heart, because you don't know how to contain her. The clock is ticking. You need a proven system for success that's going to get you there as quickly as possible. And that's because a system shortcuts the process, hacks it down, makes it simple with a step-by-step process and procedure to speed up the transformation. That's what you need, brother. And the answer is to reprogram your brain to dominate the marketplace with your dominating skills, and dominate, in other words, win in your marriage and your kingdom with an entirely different set of skills that make her feel safe and loved and contained and held and heard and cherished. Brother, I'm not telling you anything she hasn't. I've had so many of these calls, 16,000 calls. There's not one man who said, Bob, my wife doesn't want me to lead. Bob, my wife doesn't want me to make her feel safe. Bob, my wife doesn't want to feel loved and heard and seen and held and cherished and understood and not judged and accepted. Brothers, every single one of the 16,000 men have said, Bob, that is it exactly. And the thing is, I don't know how to do it. It's like she's speaking Greek. I try to do it and I can't do it. And I tell him, brother, that's why you need the system. That's why you need to plug in. That's why you need to do the work. That's why it takes 8 weeks to reprogram the subconscious relationship patterns inside your brain, brother. And it takes work. It takes accountability. It takes oversight. It takes coaching. It takes mentoring. This is not something that you can read a book and do, brother. And that's why you need leverage, brother. Because what I teach inside my program is how to create the leverage to extend and extrapolate and build on and transfer your business and marketplace dominating skills into containment skills inside your marriage. How to do that quickly and efficiently so you don't have to spend your whole life doing it the way you have had to spend your whole life learning how to dominate the marketplace. Does that make sense? And so the only way to pull this off quickly is to leverage, extend, extrapolate, and extend your domination skills in a way that you still get to be the same guy. You still get to dominate the marketplace. You get to feel like more of a man than ever. And you also have the skill set, the mindset, the heart set, what I call the man set, to make your wife feel loved and like she has a true partner, not a boss or a competitor. And this has been another chapter from the book of Bob. And gentlemen, as always, if this material has resonated with you and you are a high-achieving, successful professional man who needs help with his marriage, then head on over to realmanrevolution.com and watch my free training to get started. And if you've heard enough and you're ready to get on the phone with a coach who will take an hour with you at no charge to help you plot out the strategy for your step-by-step system and solution to achieve the have-it-all marriage for the have-it-all life, then head on over to haveitallmarriage.com/apply. haveitallmarriage.com/apply. And I look forward to helping you achieve it all.